Okay, Mr. Montemayor is, where are you? Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead. You have a presentation, please.
Opo, good morning po. I prepared a very brief set of slides. First, on the issue of agricultural cooperatives. Naintindihan po namin yung concern na papalakasin yung cooperative at tutulungan ng gobyerno. But the experience shows that when the government is the one who organizes cooperative, you have a very, very high failure rate. No? Kasi po yung nature ng cooperative, nagsasama-sama yung isang grupo to address a common need using their own resources, self-help, self-reliant organizations. No? Pag pumasok ang gobyerno, sasabihin niya, mag-co-op kayo kasi may ayuda o may traktora o may binhi. First step pa lang po, mali na yung pag-organize ng co-op na yun. No? Kasi once that incentive to form the cooperative dissipates or disappears, pati yung co-op nawawala. No? At walang organizational development or maturity yung co-op para tumagal siya. No? The life of that co-op is only as long as the help from the government exists. No? So, hindi ko man sinasabing mali yung or hindi dapat tulungan. Pero let's study very, very carefully what is the proper way to do it dating sa gobyerno na hindi makurap yung idea ng mga tao na ang co-op tinatayo para makakuha ng government support. No? Hindi dapat ganun. No? So, yun yung una po na medyo mag-ingat tayo. And there are a lot of cooperatives in the country now who are privately organized. No? They started from very, very low levels of business. Ngayon, ang lalaki na nila. Baka ang magandang gawin is to use these cooperatives as the main entities that will help organize these co-ops. No? Then, tutulong na lang yung gobyerno. No? Pero iba kasi yung dating pag government employee yung nag-o-organize ng co-ops, sinisip ng tao, ano kaya makukuha natin dito? No? So wala na yung incentive na maglagay sila ng pera, tumulong sa management or operations. Hihintay na lang yan ng ayuda from government. No? So yun lang
I
yun.
think in that regard, again, it depends on the program of intervention. Kasi
Yes.
kung dole out, walang mangyayari. No?
Po.
Pero kung halimbawa, in my case, for example, I remember in 2012, tinulungan natin yung efforts ng Jollibee Foundation sa onion growers sa Kalasag. In other words, may tulong ang gobyerno pero ang intervention ay hindi gobyerno lang. No? Multi-stakeholder intervention. And government is just one of many players. Because my sense pretty much is yung tulong sa LGU, tulong sa co-op, critical yun. Ang klase ng tulong, critical din. No? Dahil kung walang tulong sa co-op, mananatiling hirap. Pero pag mali naman ang tulong sa co-op, hindi rin siya magiging sustainable. So it's really, but ultimately, I believe, it's really a marshalling resources and holding the hand. That's how I describe it. Holding the hand of your farmers associations for 3 to 5 years of meaningful interventions from both the government and the private sector, civil society, etc. Para mag-level up yung pag-organize ng co-op. Go ahead, please continue.
Opo. Yeah. So ang suggestion ko rito when we devise that program, kausapin ng DA yung mga malalaking mga co-ops who have decades of experience in organizing co-ops. No? They know how to do it. No? And how not to do it also. So baka pwedeng magtulungan tayo doon.
In fact, yung sa Kalasag Farmers Association ng Nueva Ecija, nandun yung Catholic Relief Services, USAID, ang Jollibee Foundation, yung LJU ng San Jose City, involved din dyan. Tapos yung microfinance group na alyansa ng uh, ASCII.
ACDI.
Yes.
Yes.
So talagang multi-sectoral intervention, mobilizing resources to build the capacity of your farmers groups. Tapos kami, we provided them through the DA yung refrigerated van. Kasi at that time, this was 15 years ago, ang renta nila ng refrigerated van about 20,000 per delivery. Dinadala nila from San Jose City papuntang San Fernando kung nasaan yung mga cold storage. So nung binigyan ng DA ng refrigerated van, di nabawasan yung kanilang gastos sa rental ng vehicle at naiangat ang kanilang revenue, tumaas yung kanilang kita. So ganong klaseng intervention is what we have in mind pagka tinawag natin yung extension service and cooperative building. Go ahead, please.
Yes po. Sa co-ops, meron yung tinatawag nilang primary co-op. Ang mga membro nun, mga individuals, no? Farmers, for example. And then when these primary co-ops federate, you have a secondary co-op whose members are primary co-ops. No? So, flinag ko lang dyan dun sa definition kasi ng agricultural co-op. Hindi nababanggit yung federation, of course, but it's mentioned in other sections. No? So, siguro i-clarify lang. On the issue of tax exemption, unang-una, right now, although the cooperative code provides tax exemption to cooperatives, hirap na hirap yung, lalo na yung maliliit na co mag-comply sa BIR requirements. No? In the case of agri-coops, for example, they require the individual farmer members to submit their tax TIN. And to get your TIN, you have to submit a birth certificate. Or if you don't have that, yung affidavit of two disinterested persons. So sa farmers, napakahirap po yan. Baka na ibang lugar siyang pinanganak tapos hindi niya alam kung nasaan yung birth certificate na. No? So there are such requirements of the BIR that make it very difficult, especially for small farmer cooperatives to comply. So hindi sila makabenefit. No? And then hahabulin sila ng BIR with so many penalties. Wala yun, mag-give up na lang yun. Hindi na lang sila magpapatuloy, magpa-co-op. No? At hindi na wala na mangyayari. No? And in that respect, maybe, I don't know if it's proper, but isa pong problema nila yung local government taxes and fees. Mga health, mga sanitary permits, na okay lang siguro yung permit, yung license to operate, pero ang dami pang ibang mga hinihinging mga requirement, no? Na pag hindi ka nag-comply, pati yung, well, alam naman natin lahat, yung fire extinguisher, racket din yan, no? Hindi ka makakakuha ng permit pag hindi ka bumili ng fire extinguisher dun sa mga, anyway, all of this, no? For a small fledgling co-op, no? Pag ganyan yung mahaharap niya mga problema, mag-give up na lang yan. And in fact, sir, right now there are a lot of cooperatives who are shifting into rural workers organizations under the DOLE. Kasi mas madali ang compliance, no? Pagdating sa co-ops, ang hirap nung BIR, ang hirap din makakuha ng certificate of compliance sa CDA.
Ba't di na lang i-adapt ng co-op yung ginagawa ng DOLE?
Bawal po.
Because of the law?
Because of the law, you cannot call yourself a co-op unless you are registered with the CDA. No? Although, I don't think there's nothing to stop these rural workers or organizations to operate like a co-op. No? But that's not the solution.
Exactly.
Di ba? Dapat ayusin natin yung treatment ng co-ops. On the proposal to create a National Federation of Agricultural Cooperatives, no? So from what I understand from the bill, by law, all agricultural cooperatives have to be members of this national federation. So again, keeping with the principle of cooperatives as self-help, independent organizations, siguro payagan natin mag-evolve yun. No? Pwedeng itayo na natin yung framework ng bubong, yun yung national federation, pero palakasin muna natin sa baba. No?
Besides, the
Yeah.
best incentive to join is because they benefit from it,
Yes, may benefits.
rather than mandating it without any benefits.
Yes. Kasi pagka hilaw yung pagtatayo ng federation, mag-aaway-away lang yung mga tao. Sinong chairman? O, hindi ako chairman, alis na ako. No? So ganun po nangyayari pagka hindi maganda yung pag-organize ng co-ops. No? Hindi masyadong maganda yung samahan nila. Well, what is happening now when we try to set up this parang structure of agricultural cooperatives, no? Kailangan yung preparatory work natin well coordinated and synchronized, because right now what the DA and other governments are doing, they're giving rice mills, tractors, and equipment left and right. No? And ang tendency niyan, nagkakanya-kanya yung mga co-op na yan, grupo. Ang hirap na silang pagsamahin. No? And sometimes you have duplication of support in certain areas. No? You give the same equipment to co-ops or two groups in one municipality. Mahirap mo silang pagsamahin pag ganyan eh. So baka let's try thinking of designing our support program so that it leads towards complementation and integration later on, and not make it difficult to do that. No? Kunyari, rice mills, no? Nagbibigay yung DA ng mga RPC kung saan-saan yung rice mills. No? So siyempre, tatanong mo yung Coop, gusto ba niyang rice mill? Yan, gusto namin, lalo na kung libre yan. No? So, pero if we inventory a lot of these rice mills now, siguro kalahati sa kanila underutilized. No? Kasi hindi tama yung lugar at hindi pa ganun kalaki yung operation ng kwan. I think the better approach is to put up one big rice mill in, let's say, one province, no? And all the primary co-ops in that province doon na magpapagiling. No? Something like that, no? Para mas ma-maximize yung use ng facility or yung support. At the same time, you're encouraging the co-ops to come together under using one type of facility. No? So, yun po. And then, yung sagip-saka, Senator, which is, I think, potentially very helpful for agri-co-ops. Ang suggestion po namin, bigyan yung preferential treatment yung co-ops, not only in the delivery of commodities to government units, but also services. No?
Which will include?
Pakita, for example, yung next slide po. This is one of the big co-ops in Nueva Ecija, in Talavera, nagkakaisang kwan. Napakalaki po. And they built their co-op with practically no government assistance. No? Okay, they have a office building next. No? Yan, meron silang, yung mga combined harvester sila, hindi sila humingi sa PhilMec. Binili nila by themselves. No? And then they have their warehouse, they have their dryer, rice mill, their trucks, and everything. No? We've been approaching NFA na yung bodega nyo at you accept only clean and dry. No? Why don't you mobilize these co-ops to act as your satellite buying stations? They have all the facilities, all the manpower you need. They can buy wet palay. They are situated very near the production areas. Why don't you contract or mobilize these types of co-ops para bibili sila from the farmers in that area at yung bibili nila, ipapasa nila sa NFA as buffer stock. No. Well, we get a very negative reaction from NFA. Ang dami nilang sinasabing hindi pwede, COA, etc. No? Kulang na lang sabihin, ayaw namin. No?
Baka kasi si Eddie. Paano naman si Eddie?
Oh, pero if I'm in the position of NFA now na ang daming nagko-complain, no?
Sir, do you have inventory of such co-ops that can provide such services?
Kaya po. I know in Nueva Ecija, in fact, we arrange a dialogue with them with Admin Lacson. There are about 5 co-ops like this. No?
Okay,
Hindi,
because
hindi sila masyadong marami. No? Pero these are the types of co-ops that we should be supporting. Even when we go into organizing co-ops, ito yung magaling.
hindi pa sila
No?
ganyang karami. Pero
Hindi pa.
pagka may ganung klaseng synergy, baka madagdagan
Yes.
ng madagdagan dahil meron ng ibang co-op na nais ding eventually, di ba, to level up
Yes.
and become partners.
Mas magandang mag-expand yung co-op using this as a base kaysa mag-organize tayo ng pitsi-pitsing co-op na maliliit, no? Na baka hindi rin magtagal eh.
We can actually incorporate this in the rice tarification
Yes.
amendments.
Opo.
No, because we are looking at expanding the NFA's powers or providing them more powers. But as I said in our previous hearing, uh, we want transparency and accountability. And if we can get private sector synergy and partnerships in terms of distribution, in terms of buffer stocking, etc., why not? In fact, parang as an analogy, dahil 22 school buildings lang yung nagawa ng DPWH. But during the time of Brother Armin as a Secretary of Education, because of PPP, public sector, private sector partnerships, and then matching, meaning building of school buildings together with the local government and the national government and the DepEd, they were building 600 school buildings a week. But the private sector was pretty much involved. There was an open public bidding of contractors. It was transparent. The contractors who could build 2,000, 3,000 school buildings at one go because they'll have more, diba? They'll have less mobilization costs, etc. Pagka ganun na ang numero. And they were able to achieve it. Therefore, the concept of getting private sector to be as partners, diba, in the delivery of services of the NFA, in terms of retailing, in terms of mailing, etc., should be something that can be incorporated sa more transparent, more participatory NFA programs.
Opo. Meron pa akong isang suggestion po. Kasi yung sa Sagip-Saka, although we provide the opportunity for co-ops to supply the LGU, may mga kahinaan din yung co-op. Quality, consistency, etc. Di ba? So in the case of rice, for example, we were thinking, you let these co-ops sell to NFA for delivery of rice to the LGU. Ang makukuha ng LGU yung bigas ng NFA na hopefully maganda. No? Pero ang talagang seller is a co-op using the facilities and the capacities of the NFA to sell to that LGU. No? So,
And I'm sure that if it's the co-ops of situated in the LGU,
yes. Yes.
magugustuhan din ng LGU dahil natutulungan niya yung kanyang
Opo.
mga botante at mga negosyo sa kanilang nasasakupan.
Yes. Kasi yung mga malilit na co-op na yan, wala silang dryer, wala silang truck, wala silang rice mill. No? So we cannot expect them to avail of Sagip-Saka. But using NFA, baka pwede, sir. No? So next lang po yung tungkol sa extension. Yes, next. Okay. Sa ibang bansa, they have expanded the meaning of extension to what they call rural advisory services. No? Hindi lang technology yung tinuturo ng mga extension workers, but they also give advice on financial matters, how do you market your products, no, etc. No, so tignan din natin na kung baka we can have extension system with providing advice on different aspects of farming and marketing. No? So isa yun po.
But I think that should be the case.
Yes, yes.
You provide, because in other jurisdictions like Taiwan, meron talagang research, merong marketing expertise na binibigay yung gobyerno.
Opo. That's why when we try to do that, hindi naman siguro kaya ng ATI lang yan. No? So that's why we have to look at the existing mechanisms that are in place now and see how we can tap them to provide this array of services to farmers. No? So yung ATI nandyan, then very important yung bar. No? Kasi kung sa restaurant pa, yung bar yung nagluluto ng ulam, kayo yung tigahatid doon sa customer. No? Paano, bakit yung ginawa ng bar, yung cook, yung nagluto, hindi naman yun ang gusto ng customer. No? Wala rin. Hindi rin masaya yung customer nyo. No? So it has to be, the extension system has to be part of a parang continuum. You have the research, you have the extension, and then you have the feedback mechanism so that when you deliver the technology to the farmers, sasabihin na hindi maganda yan, then you relay that back to the bar, the researcher, so that they can develop better technology, and then you start serving it again. So, hindi dapat siya hiwalay. So, kasi I think ang daming nasasayang din na pera sa research. Paulit-ulit na lang yung research. No? At kung minsan, hindi naman yun ang gusto ng farmer or hindi rin niya kaya yung technology dahil napakamahal yung inputs, etc. So we have to fix that cycle of research extension and feedback. No? And then Picard has a very, although Picard yung scope ng research niya mas malawak, pero meron siyang malaking arm ng agricultural research. No? Under DOST po yan. So maybe we can work. And then SUCs, no? Sa America, they don't have extension workers. They rely on the people in the agricultural state colleges to do the extension. No? Maybe we can have a hybrid model here para hindi na tayo mag-hire ng ang dami-dami, etc. No? But there is so much expertise in the SUCs. You can even use the ones who are studying agriculture in those state universities. No? Ang laking deployment yan kung we can tap the resources of the state colleges. No? And then there are NGOs who are providing extension. There are companies, private companies. No? So ang dami pong pwedeng itap ng ATI sa kanyang trabaho. No? Kailangan lang kausapin at i-design mabuti yung sistema. For that, LGU pa. No? Very important. So, yung sunod is, and then you have the farm schools that were created by TESDA and ATI. Ito po ay run by farmer organizations as training sites doon sa lugar, sa site mismo. So,
my farm is a learning site.
Ayun po.
Yes. We were accredited when I was still in the private sector.
Ang problema lang, like sa RCEP, nagtayo ng farm school. Pero yung technology na binababa sa farm school, hindi yun yung kailangan sa baba. No? Pero para mabuhay yung farm school, tinatanggap na lang nila yung scholarship funding from TESDA kahit hindi naman yun ang talagang kailangan sa baba. So we have to fix all of this so that it really addresses what the farmers need in the locality. Yung magsasaka scientista, this is a creation of ATI. Napakagandang programa yan. These are parang scientists na hindi naman nag-aral sa kolehiyo, pero ang gagaling from experience. No? They have so much knowledge to share. No? Let's mobilize them also. In fact, baka pwede nyo silang swelduhan tapos parang roving technician din. No? And then you have the local research consortia. Isang dagdag na lang. There was a time when we were asked to sit in an advisory council sa Picard so that before the research is funded, parang kami yung filter kung maganda ba o hindi, no? And together with us were business people, no? Exporters, food processors, no? I remember one time there was a proposal to do research and extension on a certain variety of forestry, no? Yung kahoy, no? And one of the members of the committee was from the handicraft industry. Sabi niya, hindi yan yung kahoy na kailangan namin sa aming industry. No? Walang bibili ng kahoy na yan. No? So again, let's start to, I think it's very important we involve the buyers of the products of farmers, no, in the design of the research and extension system. Kasi in the end, that is the best incentive for farmers to adopt the technology. May market.
In
At
other
may,
words, the supply chain,
yes,
uh, how do you call it, approach to uh, yeah, extension service.
yes.
Eventually, you will have to provide, pagtatanim pa lang may market na.
Po, yung PhilFood X.
In fact, kasama lahat yun kasi pag kailangan mo i-address yung market requirements, hindi pwede lahat ampalaya. Diba? Tapos pag bagsak ang presyo, tapos lahat pipino, lahat, 'di ba? Sayote. So kailangan talaga mayroong market driven yung planting and harvest projections mo, 'di ba?
Pati yung variety po ng product mo.
Yes,
Dapat
yes.
yun yung kailangan ng exporter or processor. No? I was surprised I think almost all of our paminta is imported. No? So, bakit? Hindi ba? Dali-dali itanim yung paminta, no? But maybe we can dig deeper into that and look at technologies that can help farmers produce that, no, and process it into the form.
I remember the organic farm that I visited in Taiwan. They were 24 farmer members, and 45 hectares. Iba-iba yung produkto nila. And then nagro-rotate sila. In other words, merong 24 sila. May picture pa nila at yung produkto nila. Merong guapol, merong dragon fruit. Merong ano sila, hindi pare-pareho. And the same with the Thailand. The Thailand ito naman 15 hectares. And then 9 farming families. Ganun ka granular yung co-ops nila. So doon, 4 ang produkto nila and then they rotate. Asparagus, basil, sweet basil at kangkong. Iniikot nila among the 9. And then, yung nabanggit mo yung incentive tsaka tax breaks or whatever, nag-donate yung top supermarket ng air-conditioned packing facility in the 15-hectare farm and the co-op para tapos sila yung bumibili. So dinideliver kaya sariwa kasi pagka pinackage mo at the source, yung losses mo bawas, yung quality mo preserved, yung shelf life mo ma-extend. So pagdating doon sa mga supermarket, direkta, yung mga top supermarket, they probably have what? 80, 90, 100 convenience stores in Bangkok. Direkta. So again, going back to your point na yung supply chain intervention. Go ahead, please.
Yung last na lang tungkol dun sa Agricom, yung proposal to set up an Agricom. So,
yes.
The last one. Yeah, yung unang tanong ko lang is what happens to Cocoa Farm? No? Sorry. Okay. And then the next one is you have the Agricom at the legislative level. No? May counterpart po yan sa Department of Agriculture, yung NAF Council. No? That's where the private sector and the DA officials and other government agencies interact with each other to review yung performance in agriculture and to propose new strategies and to devise the budgets for the succeeding year. No? baka pwedeng i-link po natin yung NAF Council activities with what you are planning at the legislative level, no? Ah, dahil in many instances, yung consultation with the private sector is not very productive, no? Uh, and we need to strengthen that. We have also proposed to the DA to mobilize the private sector in monitoring all of the funded projects, no, nationwide po, kasi nandyan po yung Agriculture and Fishery Council up to municipal level, nandyan yung national networks of farmers and NGOs, no. So we're telling them, give us the list of your projects and we will validate in the field, no, and see whether they are actually helping farmers or not, no. Tagal na po namin sinasabi yan. Ang sinasabi nila, wala kaming pondo para dyan or kukunti, no. Nung huling NAF Council meeting, they promised to allocate 100 million pesos, no. The DA budget is how much? 80 billion, no. And you're investing just 100 million for field monitoring and validation. I think it's a very reasonable expense, no. Ang problema, sir, ang balita namin, ang nalagay lang sa net 8 million, no. Baka meron pang panahon na idagdag yan, lalo na with all this brouhaha about flood control anomalies, no. There are also a lot of, well, not a lot, but there are also anomalies within the DA.
We can actually put that in as a special provision sa GAA
Pwede po, no.
that a citizens participatory audit
Yes.
should be mandated precisely in view of the latest scandals that have affected the bureaucracy to its core. Di ba? I mean, government.
Yes, with funding po sana.
Yes.
But whatever is the result, this is not fault-finding exercise, no. We want to help the DA make sure that the funds are spent well and properly. So whatever findings we get from this exercise, if i-feedback namin sa NAF Council, no, and then that will guide the DA and other officials in adjusting the programs and making them work better, no. So magtulungan sana, no, and hopefully, and then that will also help guide the Agricom on what legislation is needed to improve the situation. Salamat po.
We will take note of that as we craft the bill, no, and the committee report. Well, the bill is crafted. It's the committee report that we can now. Okay.